The elk hunting fever is heating up, y'all, and folks all over the country are strategizing and to figure out when they should hunt elk this year. Just what are the best days to hunt elk in 2023? Well, y'all, me and the boys are getting together to talk about just that. What we think will be the best days to hunt elk this season. We'll talk about the best overall days. We'll even talk about the best 7 to 5 to 3 day periods and how that might look a little different for new elk hunters versus experienced hunters and why. So break out that calendar, y'all, and come on into Elk Camp. That discussion, our Elk Bros shout outs and questions from our awesome Elk Bros mailbox. So my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gillia. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy the show. And as always, for our blue-collar hunters following our show and grinding it out with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas coming to you live from Spring, Texas, and the host of your show. And joining us, tonight's crew. That's right. We've got the Western Contours master himself, the pimp in the box with the bad to the bone voice, Mr. Guy Duplantier in the house. We've got the legend in the house. That's right. R.C. Knox from Cuesta, New Mexico's in the house with us tonight. We've got, that's right, Wapiti River's icon himself, Mr. Travis O'Shea's in the house. And that's right, we got our elk hunting coaches in the house with us tonight from Cimarron, New Mexico. We've got Joe Giglia in the house and the ninja. Ooh. The ninja's in the house, Mr. Leroy Chavez.
The ninja bought me lunch today, man.
What's up, fellas?
Yeah.
Oh. Que paso?
Yeah.
What'd you guys have? What'd you eat for lunch?
Well, it was a little different. He actually brought different meals. You know what's cool is almost 3 years ago, recording this show, it'll be 3 years on June 24th.
3 years? Wow.
Almost 3 years ago, we were recording a show on a night. Chav was sitting beside me in a wheelchair, no hair, and we were waiting on my granddaughter to be born during that.
Wow.
And she's been with us here for 6 days. So has her daughter. So let me tell you what, man. You guys you think elk hunting is tough? You know.
Yeah.
Man, the granddaughter is one thing because my wife had all kinds of stuff scheduled that we were going to do and all these different things, but the dog, that's been tough for elk hunting, man.
Well, Joe, I digress a little bit. I want to make sure that everybody knows that Mr. Travis O'Shea and Guy Duplantier are our Elk Bros coaches as well. I didn't introduce them as that, but everybody needs to know these guys are Elk Bros certified coaches that'll be with us in Elk Camp this year. And we love to have these guys on the podcast for sure. Unfortunately, tonight, we don't have the leader of the Venezuelan mafia, Luis Gonzalez, and that northern guy up there in Dallas. He decided not to show up either. So we just, we wish them all the best. Now, I will say my brother Luis, he definitely had a reason for not being here. He's headed to Venezuela to see his family, and we want everybody to pray for him because this is a volatile situation still going on down there. So our listeners get that, the guys that know who the leader of the Venezuelan mafia are, y'all make sure you pray for Luis and his family.
Well, the thing is every now and then they got to go into witness protection,
That's it. It's sad.
Yeah.
Going back into the belly of the lion.
Yeah.
So how's everybody been, man? I know Travis, man, you've been sending a smoke down this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I'm trying to clear it out of here and get it your way so I can go scouting for elk. I can't see nothing.
Let me tell you what, my wife was like, really? All of this is from Canada?
Well,
Mhm.
we finally got about a day and a half, 2 days of rain, solid rain, like downpour. So it did get a lot of the fires under control finally, thank goodness, because man, I was starting to sweat bullets. Like it's close to our hunting areas, I'll tell you that. I'm like, don't get any closer because I don't know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
and
Well,
no fire's good.
Maybe-
Then you
maybe-
have families losing their homes
Right.
left, right, and center. It's
yeah,
a
that's
bad deal.
that's the tough part. I mean, when you've got loss of property and everything like that,
Mhm.
because as far as it hitting the hunting area, I don't know if you guys get like the same type of monsoons and stuff that we do, but sometimes, man, if some of those fires go through there pretty fast and then you get some rains, it makes for some really good situations. But
Yeah, yeah. This one was pretty fast moving because we were so dry.
That's
It
good.
seems like it burned all the underbrush stuff like really real fast, but it seemed like it went right through and moved on. So, I mean, yeah,
Don't get
there's
a
going
little
to be
rain
some.
in there,
That's
man, and it'll
good.
richen,
Yeah.
it'll richen that
It'll
place
just
up, baby.
so
Oh, wow.
last
Yep.
year we got hit, and you remember, Travis, we were talking
Yep.
about it about this time. We got hit with that Calf Canyon fire. There was over 300,000 acres.
Yep.
And I mean, it was huge, and everybody thought that elk season was pretty much out the window. Well, the area in, one of the areas around here that got burnt, man, I mean, it became an elk magnet because the rains came in.
Yeah.
It went through a lot of those areas fast. Now, if it got on ridges and it just scorched it and nuked that
Yeah.
soil, that's a different story. But if you can get that moving through and then you get some good moisture afterwards, man, I tell you what,
Yeah.
they flock to those areas. Man.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the rain was so good. I mean, there's water laying everywhere now, and the rivers, they've come up like honestly like 5-6 feet. Like they're
Wow.
chocolate milk color and logs coming down and you name it. So it was a good rain when you see the water come up that much.
Is that jet boat going to hit the river this year then?
It's gonna take a few days for it to clear this rain out, but then I'm gonna be back at her. Yeah.
wow.
I'm gonna come hang out with Travis. I'll help you build some reeds, man. We'll get in that jet boat and do all
Yeah,
kind
buddy.
of stuff up there in Canada.
We'll do the morning shift and then we'll hit the jet boat in the afternoon.
Heck yeah, get some poutine in the evening. I want some legit Canadian poutine, dude. Ever since we talked, I'm like, man.
Oh yeah.
So good.
I think
You
this is
guys-
going to be really, really cool tonight too, with our topics.
Yeah.
Because Travis, it was interesting. I got an email the other day from somebody that we get a lot of listeners from up there in Canada. It's just awesome. And a lot of them have commented that, man, we really like the show, but now that, we've had Travis on the show a few times, add a little bit more dimension to, connecting them to their area. It's pretty cool. And it's really going to be interesting to see, when we talk about this calendar, because when I show my calendar, I have August on there. And man, I know that Arizona at one time used to have their archery hunt that would start sometimes at like August 15th. And they're not now. Their early hunt, I believe, starts right at the beginning of September. I don't know. Somehow it rolls, it changes and stuff. And I know Utah has an early hunt. I'm not sure about other places, but up there, you guys start early up in Canada as well.
Yeah, we're August 25th and then goes right through till September 16th. Then rifle season starts September 17th. But we bow hunt right through rifle season.
Yeah. He froze up, so he didn't mean to.
Yeah.
He didn't pause on that. And I think it's pretty, when you think about that, man, because I always thought it was cheating that there's some places that the rifle hunt starts on October 1st. And I tell you what, man, that October 1st rifle hunt or the 6th or the 8th a week later
fire
is unbelievable,
Oh yeah.
So
one of the most memorable hunts I've ever had was that first week in October. Carl used to say it was magical, and then I hunted with RC that week, and I'm telling you,
if half the battle is
bulls the first
locating
morning?
elk,
Yeah.
What's
we
that? Say
killed
that
three.
again, Gil?
We killed 3 bulls the first morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Oh.
insane. And we passed several bulls to get to the bulls we killed, and it was insane. Carl was not. He was not knowing what we were going to do, other than work. Right when you knock 3 down in one morning.
Yeah.
Well, those animals, I mean, you take a look at when those estresses can happen, and I tell you,
Yeah.
man, I really think that first week into about the 8th and stuff of October, and
Solid.
that doesn't mean that they're not still screaming after that, but some of those
Right,
big bulls are
right.
starting to split off around the 8th to the 11th, and then those satellites come in and you know they're feeling it now and they're taking over and they're rehearsing and they're waiting and they're going to go ahead and run that, they think, because really a lot of them big bulls are just staying off in the wings, and then when they hear something that goes ballistic and estrus, then they just they go in, get it done, and then get back out. They're not going to burn a lot of energy. So
And we probably had a 40-mile-an-hour wind that morning. It was gassing, and my client decided to shoot a bull that had one of them bat type drop tines, and he was big old bull, and he was fighting with a giant 345 inch bull, and I'm like, kill that 7x6 on the left. He goes, no, I'm gonna shoot the big bad one that's all muddied up over here. It's got the drop tine. I'm like, your hunt, buddy, kill what you want to, but that other one over there dwarfs him. He didn't care, man. He shot the one he wanted to shoot 5 times with a muzzle loader in the shoulder.
That's
5 times with a 50 cal.
And
Can they take a whipping? Elk are tough, brother. Let me tell you, they're tough.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So let's do this, man. We got a lot of stuff we're going to hit tonight, a lot of conversation. So let's hit that Elk Bros mailbox right away.
Chad,
Okay,
first up, brother.
All right. The first letter we got is from David Sinclair from Sheridan, Montana. And he says, hey, bros, love what you guys do. My question is this: is it better to partner with one person focus only on calling and the other as a shooter? In other words, if I am planning to call with a partner, should I leave my bow at camp just to focus on getting my partner a shot? If you have a tag, you never leave your bow at home.
Agreed, buddy.
That's it.
That's
Resounding.
He
echo.
answered his own question.
Yeah, you're going to have a giant 6x6 walk 10 feet away from you,
Ask us
and you're
how
just
we
holding
know.
the grunt tube.
Yeah.
So that's my answer to that question there.
So
And I don't think we
look,
need another answer.
there's not very often you guys get to hear Chav say much, but Chav, I want you to reiterate exactly exactly what you just said at the beginning. If
I
what?
don't know if I could reiterate what I said, but you never leave your bow at home if you have a tag, because you're going inevitably you're going to have a bull walk 10 feet away from you, broadside.
A giant.
Yeah.
That's about as much wisdom as we can give you right there,
That's
man.
E.F. Hutton
That's
right
it.
there, boys. And if y'all don't know who E.F. Hutton is, y'all look it up.
Yeah, you can go to Rocky Mountain National Park if you want to run around just to see elk.
Yeah. You go to Estes if you want to just see elk.
Yeah.
And not only that, once his buddy does shoot that elk that he's calling in for him, there's another bigger bull walking up behind him.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Here comes the buddy.
I do have to say that David, that is one heck of a pondering,
Yeah.
and you're that committed to your hunting partner.
No
I would
doubt.
hope that your hunting partner is that committed to you. Even,
Yep.
no offense, it's kind of a foolish ass question, but but yeah,
No, but
that's
I
a heck
think-
of a commitment to someone to say, I'm gonna leave my bow at camp and focus on you. I mean, good on you, man.
Well,
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard people say that before, that,
Yeah.
so-and-so's going to be the shooter today, so I'm not even going to take my bow. And,
The only time I've done that is when I didn't have a tag or I was tagged out.
well, yeah, absolutely. If you, I mean,
Yeah.
that's, you get to focus at that point. But there was a great point made by Travis and we've reiterated that sometimes, and we've had it, me and Chav, the best time to double up is when you have a bull on the ground.
On the ground.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've killed working a bull, and just because of all the commotion, because of the scent, you have another bull that comes right in, and man, I'm telling you, it's a prime time situation to be able to tag both guys out like that. So
I killed my largest bull and called 6 more in. That Chav had some bow malfunction, and we've had a lot of work going on for sure. We called 6 more bulls in after the one I killed.
Well, how many times have you, I can tell you as a caller, how many times I've been calling a bull in for somebody set up in front of me, and that bull does something where that person doesn't have the shot and then goes by me at 15 yards. So, it's,
Hey, Knox, we were working on my bull in Colorado. And what happened while we were working on that bull in Colorado?
Oh, yeah, that cow come and stepped on us.
And if we'd have been ready, we'd have knocked her down too. We had another tag in our pocket. Brendan had a tag in his pocket, but we didn't have, he couldn't get to his bow, but she walked right in there on top of us.
And see, that's the thing. When you're the caller, it takes 2 seconds to knock an arrow and hang your bow up on a tree branch.
Yeah, you're right, Travis.
Done deal. You can go back, you can call, you can swish grass, you can do whatever you got to do. You can move around, come back to where your bow is, and you're ready. Right?
That tells me something else I can put in my pack. One of them little tree spikes that you screw into the tree and ding.
Heck yeah.
The bow hitch works better. Because it's right there.
Because carrying your bow sucks.
Right.
That was shameless, Gil.
I know that. I'm a shameless dude, baby.
There was a lot of times that if I'd had a bow hitch, man, my bow would not been down by my feet when I was calling, and in fact, 3 years ago, I killed a monster of a bull that I was trying to call elk into Chav and never expect it. And when I see the bull, the bull I figured would have never gotten by Chav without winding him. And sure enough, he managed to go in front. Chav didn't get the shot. And here's the bull walking into me, comes in 18 yards. But when he's walking in, my bow is literally at my feet. I've got to pick my bow up. Now I've got to get in front of obstacles because I've got a tree in front of me. And if I don't get in front, I'm not going to get a shot. So, I mean, as the caller, you get a lot of opportunities that other people don't. Oh, look at that, man.
All right.
Yeah.
That bow hit.
Baby.
That is sweet.
Yeah, buddy.
Elk Bros edition right there, man.
Elk Bros edition. That's cool.
There it is.
Very cool.
Yeah, look, it's a game changer. I mean, RC will tell you that year I killed my bull in Colorado, not one of us had a bow in our hand. I mean, they were all leaning up against us, and we looked like a dang Chinese fire drill trying to, get an arrow knocked up between the three of us. But we got it done, got it knocked out. But if, like you said, with a bow hitch, it'd have been over quick.
Yeah.
We got to shoot him at 18 yards instead of 52 or 53, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I love 18.
Yeah, me too. Well, I don't care as long as he stops. If he'll stop and stutter there for just a second, he's in serious trouble. If I know the distance, 18 or 60, it don't matter. Let it.
Mr. Duplantier, you're up.
All right, so we got Mr. Thomas out of Birmingham, Alabama. So this is a 3-parter. So we'll just go one by one here down the line. Mr. Thomas writes, excuse me, I'm hoping to get some thoughts on what to do in some different hung bull situations for a solo hunter and how the situation would change for a hunter with a partner. How would you deal with a bull that is hung up first as solo hunter and then as partners in these situations? All right, so pondering number 1, the bull is 80 to 100 yards, responding by screaming at my cow calls, and I can see him not coming any closer.
If you're seeing him at 80 to 100 yards screaming, there's a problem. That's why he's not coming any closer. Your setup is you're in a situation where you've cow called that bull. If you can see that bull should be able to see you at 80 to 100 yards, and that bull's locked up. So
your stop and scan spot was wrong. Your setup was wrong.
Yeah. His setup was right.
Wrong,
and he's telling you, get over here. I want to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he can see you at 100 yards.
Yep. And he's sitting there telling you to come to him. Basically, he's saying, he's displaying, he's wanting to see that cow. He's getting going, but he ain't coming any closer because he should already be seeing that cow. Now, what to do?
Yeah.
This situation with a partner is different than being solo, because with a partner, most likely that partner can keep moving back and pull that animal past you unless they're locked in on your shoulder. If they're locked in on your shoulder, I'm going to give this out, and you guys think about your situations and come in after me and see if you have something a little different. But what I do in that situation, especially if a bull's come to a stop and scan spot, now I've shut up, because if I go ahead and call now, I can throw my calls back behind me as a solo hunter, but with 100 yards in front of me and he's locked up, there's a good chance he's really not going to come in any closer. I can give it a whirl by throwing my calls behind me, but there's a good chance not. Now, if I wait on that bull, he's going to get bored because he don't see anything, and he's going to turn and walk out pretty much the same way that he walked in. Now, if I have a partner with me and that partner's on my shoulder, now I get the chance as a shooter to get on up there to where I'm close to that stop and scan spot where it's in my effective range, and then let my caller do his job back there and bring that bull back. And that bull, I've done it before, where a bull has come to the spot that they're stop and scan 4 different times. So you have that ability to do that. Now, as a hunter, the way I do that is, now I'm going to move up as I'm going, and you have choices. Now, as you're doing it, you might be able to do something with some cow call, especially if he's screaming to that, where you're kind of being insistent where you're from, and try to move up at, as you're doing that, and then shutting up and getting in position. Especially if it's got terrain where it's dropping off that allows you to do that, and you can see horns, or depending on what it looks like in that situation, you might be able to get away with making that call, being insistent again, and then getting on up there. Or I could even get up on there, and then I always throw my calls back behind me where I came from, and just try to get him to come up and look one more time. So
yeah,
that's I'm also wondering what kind of screaming he's doing. What kind of bugles are you bugling back at you with? Is he rounduping you, or is he challenging you? I mean, what is that's holding him there?
But right? If he's saying cow calls, I'm thinking it's roundup, right? Get over here, show yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is he chuckling at you? Have you chuckled back at him? I mean, there's a whole lot into that scenario that can go. But I like Joe's idea. For me, if I can see him 80 to 100 yards away, and he doesn't see me, he's not locked on me, I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna try to sneak my way up within 60, 70 yards of him, and see if I can't put an arrow in him without me saying a word.
I think the most important part of that situation, and I can speak to the solo more than I can the partner, is evaluating your approach, right? I mean, if he's bugling and you're 300 yards off, don't have eyes on him, as you're moving up solo, I mean, you have to play every bit of the terrain, every bit of cover, all the shadow, and understand what you're doing as that solo hunter, right? So the evaluation has to be split second as you're moving in, and really watching that setup and surroundings, because like Joe's saying, if you got to fall back because you don't have a partner, you're going to have to come forward. So I got to fall back and call. Then I got to move back up. And the best play on that for me is the terrain. I always try to position myself where the terrain lends itself, so I don't have to worry about being busted in that situation.
I think also that, he's coming to that spot and he's scanning. He's looking for something. If you've got any kind of a decoy on your bow or anything like that, it just helps, especially if you're a solo hunter.
Yeah,
it's hard though. I mean, unless you're mounted to the bow, and I tried that a few years back, and it's just so daggum hard, man, to bust out. You got your tube in one hand, you're calling, you got your bow in the other hand, you got a knocked arrow, and then it's like, oh crap, let me grab. I got to drop my pack and I got this thing on the outside. Let me pull it out, get it open. And, it's a very difficult situation if you don't have something mounted to your bow in terms of decoy in mind.
I would try one thing before I gave up on everything. I would try this. Hopefully he's got a few cows with him. And if he does, that's probably why he's not budging. But if he does, and he doesn't have a hot cow there, I would quit talking to him and make me a bull that's got hot cows with me and make a rut fest sound like it's going on. And that may trip him into going, I ain't got a hot cow over here, but this guy sounds like he does. I may come right to this little party that's going on and infiltrate it, right? It might make him come across that 80 to 100 yards before I, just give up on the scenario.
I don't
but that would be solo only. I wouldn't do that with a partner.
And I don't think he has to have cows with him to be hung up. I think if you've got an open area and you're seeing that from 80 to 100 yards and he's not able to see the cow that he's coming into, I think he's just going to hang up.
But I'm going away from him while I'm doing it, Joe. I'm making that sound like another bull with a hot cow that's moving away, right? And see if we can pull him across that spot.
But see, I'm just responding to his question because he says he has a bull that's responding and screaming at his cow calls.
Right.
And if that's happening, he's got a bull that's coming in to him cow calling.
Right.
Then all of a sudden he's seeing him at 80 to 100 yards and the bull's locked up and not coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that bull's locked up because, number one, he has a terrible setup.
Right. No doubt.
Place,
that's
right?
100% agreeable. Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about something that I heard Duplantier say, though, because that's a great point in what he made because it lives within his realm. The type of pack that he wears, the type of, bugle tube that he's using, and to have a decoy mounted to his bow,
right,
it makes it kind of a struggle for him. And the difference is, for me, I've really liked having that decoy in the front of my bow. I've actually been able to pop it on real quick in a situation, but I'm carrying a smaller day pack and I'm wearing a grunt tube that's flexible that really I don't have to do a whole lot with it. So it doesn't become an issue and a problem with me solo. Now, if you're partnered, it does not matter what the heck grunt tube you use because that partner can throw those calls back behind you. The other thing is my calls, most guys that are having this issue, and I'm just saying, most guys that have this issue are calling forward towards the bull.
That's right.
And with the grunt tubes that we have today, a lot of those bat style grunt tubes, I mean, you take a look at some of the volume that Travis's calls, his tubes make are incredible. They sound so realistic, but guys throw them in the direction where now that bull thinks that you're 50, 60 yards more ahead than what you are. And I've heard people say that elk are incredible at pegging where you are. Well, I am going to be the devil's advocate and just say I've had too many times when they knew the area I was in, and I don't know if it's because of the fact that I do throw my calls back behind me.
That's absolutely it, Joe.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
That's absolutely it. Right, because if it's going back behind you, it's going away from their ears. They can't pinpoint it as well. If it's going directly at them and it's hitting them, they're like, okay, I just got to follow this sound that far. Boom, there it is.
Agree, man, because I've bounced my sounds off of trees or objects back behind me, and I've literally had bulls come in and looking. Yeah, they've come into
behind you.
But they're going off to the wrong direction, and I have steered them by using a cow call and throwing it the way I needed them to come.
Behind me.
Another point with that, Joe, is the length of the call, right? And that's we always, for whatever reason, I say always, right? Broad stroke, folks, but we always have this, just cow calling, ooh, ooh, ooh. Right, it's this cadence that we keep. Right. Shorten that call up half a second. Just say, hey, right, I'm right here, right, and that's going to make them come in wondering where that sound's coming from instead of them being able to pinpoint it on that note.
You know, the bull I called in for Tom, I had to call him across about 165-yard field, right, and he walked out in the middle of that looking for us, and he couldn't find us because we were in that patch of timber. and he just could not find where we were. He left twice because he couldn't see where we were.
Right.
If I don't throw that chuckle behind me
Mhm.
and that little buzz behind me, he doesn't come back. And I didn't even really think about it until I went, man, I need to invite him back over here because he's wanting to come, but he's not seeing what he needs to see. And I just turned my bugle tube behind me and went, ooh, 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 like that. And then, and with the buzz, that nasal, man, dude, he spun around like, oh, wow. And he come high stepping in there like, all right, now that's exactly what I needed to see. And I told Tom, I said, we're going to kill him right now. I said, get ready. I'm going to cover your, whenever you draw, I'm going to cover you, but he's going to walk right by you. And man, he did it. I mean, he read the script, brother. But if I don't do that, if I don't put that call behind me, he leaves again, right? Because he's not seeing what he needs to see.
Yeah.
And just pushing that call away was enough for him to go, oh, they're over that little ridge. They're over that little rise. I need to ease on through there, you know?
Yeah.
All right. So second part is the bull is 80 to 100 yards. I've been bugling and using cow calls, but he's not responding, but I see him out there looking.
So he's
Kind of the
coming
same.
silent. So it's a different situation, right? So the guy is bugling. He is using cow calls. So he's probably, you know, it's almost like a scenario. I mean, it's almost like there's a bull with cows right there, and he's coming in and he can see him, but he's not coming any closer. That's what I gather there, right?
I have
Yes,
been bugling and
yes.
using cow calls, but he's not responding. But I see him out there looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's trying to figure out what's going on, what's over there, right? He's probably a younger age class bull.
Boom.
He's worried about, you know, who's over there holding those cows. And I got to go in with a little bit of caution because I got my butt whooped 3 times already as these cows start, you know, gathering and we're getting together here.
Yeah. And again, it's crummy setup.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, you know, when we set up together for Chav that time and had them bulls down there below us, they didn't even raise their head up until you started making herd talk and easing away, right? And sounded like our own herd of elk up there. They wouldn't even lift their head. You cow call, bugle, they just keep eating. I mean, it was like, we don't give a dang. And then all of a sudden we struck up a big party where there was a big nasty bull and some hot cows and glunking and all that going on. And man, they raised their head up and here they come, like, you know, Dumb and Dumber. It was odd to see the interaction like that.
You know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. That's a great point, Gilbert, because how many times do you hear all of a sudden just a little cow call or a calf call, cow call, and it's pretty boring, you know, that's what's going on most of the time. But the minute you guys struck up that cow party, holy crap, now something substantial is going on. He's got to come over for a look. Like he wants to see what's going on. So you're probably going to hear him give that little search bugle and then he's coming, you know.
Yeah, this bull actually never said anything. And I'll go right to you, guy, but he never said anything. He just, and what I really did was I went to an entire herd. There was even small bulls in there. So, you know, I had the ability to go up over the terrain and be, you know, above where Chav was set up and do all of this stuff, moving around and making this racket sound like a big herd where, you know, they couldn't see what was going on, but it sure, you know, gave him a reason. So I was basically playing towards the herd instinct, right? Because at that time, he just had zero testosterone going on. He wasn't interested in the cow. He wasn't interested in the bull. That wasn't punching his trigger. So I was like, okay, let's just play towards his herd mode and see if we can get him curious to come up there. So, Guy, what were you going to say, bro?
I'm going to read number 3, and I have a comment against all 3 of these, right? So number 3 says the bull is 60 to 80 yards, chuckling now every now and then from the same distance, but it's too thick to see him beyond 20 yards. So with all 3 questions, thinking about them as we're discussing them, there is something that's coming into my head. He's hearing the bull, that first sound, right? He's getting that first cow, that first bull sound, whatever he's hearing to say there's elk over there. And he keeps moving in and he's calling as he's moving in. And I think what's going on is he's misjudging the distance from himself at first sound to the herd or the bull. and then he's setting up too far away from the animal to begin with. And that's really what, and I've seen it, I've done it, and that's really what's coming through on these three situations for me, right? Because when you're trying to judge that distance, off of that first bugle, that first chuckle, that first grunt, whatever it is, you have to get as close as you can, right? And then start calling. Don't say, okay, I think I'm at X distance, and then start calling or moving in, and you're just keeping them there. He's saying, you called and said, woo, hey, Tony. And then he calls back and he says, hey, Tony. You start moving in, you're doing exactly what he wants you to do and coming to him. He's waiting for you at that point to get to him so he can lay eyes on you. So you got to get a little bit better. So I would say, Thomas, think about where you're hearing them and then judge that distance, right? And just add a little bit more to it if you keep getting held up in that 80 to 100 yard range. So yeah, didn't mean to jump ahead, boys.
No, man.
My wheels were spinning.
I agree 100% with you. And for me, 60 to 80 yards, man, I might just shut up and sneak my way right up in the middle of it.
There you go.
And,
That's
exactly.
and put me a daggum arrow in that son of a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty good
Mohican sneaking at that area.
I put the Mohican sneaking on him, baby. Get the wind right. Get yourself up in there, man, and get eyes on him. And you can do it. I promise you. Use your terrain. Go slow. Get right in the middle of it, man. Just trust your instincts and make sure the wind's right. And I'm telling you, you can get in there.
I'm calling that booger in, man.
That's but honestly, that's a good conversation. That's a great point with Gil, right? Because a lot of us will go out there and think the only way to arrow a bull is to call him into 12 yards, right?
I'll blow it. I'll end up blowing it because
he's too impatient. He's too impatient.
Right?
Dude, I crawled up to a herd. I crawled up within 20 yards of about 12 cows, bull on the other side. All I had to do was just sit there and friggin' wait, man. I mean, if I didn't, it was going to be a kill sooner or later, but no, man, I had to try to get him to come on.
Sometimes we're our own worst enemy.
We are, right? I mean, that's Gil. That statement, that is elk hunting, right? That's
far from
elk hunting.
We're our own worst enemy. Sometimes we need to keep it simple, stupid, and just roll up in there and put an arrow in him. And look, calling to him is awesome, man. But you've already got in his bubble. You're where you need to be. There could be a lot of reasons why he don't want to show himself, especially if he's like Guy said, he might be a younger bull's had his butt whipped.
It is a younger bull, man. If that bull is just like you've been bugling and using cow calls and he never responded, and you see him, that was a bull that was coming in, right?
Yeah.
And so what I don't get out of that is again, when I look at those parts right there, I'm looking at, first of all, if you had a bull that's screaming and here, this happens to a lot of guys, man. As soon as they get a response, they sit down and set up.
They set up. Right.
Yeah.
Instead of what Guy was saying, cutting that distance, and then you can't always get the perfect setup situation. But man, I tell you what, if I'm going at him and I can figure on, okay, what is the best area that's going to block that view for that animal to give me a setup so it comes in and has to see me within my effective range, I'm not going to set up 100 yards out where I can then see a thick tree line inside. You've seen it, where you got open bottom underneath the trees, and then all of a sudden it gets thick about 100 yards out. And what does that bull do? That bull comes in either by terrain where it's a hill up or hill down, and they come through that and they stop and they just sit there and they just look, man, because they could see another out. Now, had I shut up for a little bit and the bull was coming, that bull might continue coming my way. There's a chance. But if that bull does hang and turns and goes the way he came, now you have another opportunity to get that. But I really think I'm along with Guy is that I think a lot of people are not aggressive enough. And even like Gil says, man, sometimes I'm moving up on that animal, even if I do plan on calling, because I need to get in the best killing situation. So I'm going to move. Now, if I'm moving in and that bull is absolutely feeding or raking a tree, why am I going to say anything? I'm just going to go up and kill him. Right.
Because that is what we're taught, if you will, right, across all the platforms. Call. And having diversity in your skill set and understanding that you're going to have to change it up, right? You may be a caller at 500 yards and you're spot and stock at 300 yards. And then you might be a light caller again between, kill and 150 yards, right? It's understanding that single repertoire is not going to work every single freaking time.
You're right. And if you understand the bull's posture, he's not marching to you. When that bull starts marching to you and he's pissed, you will know, dude. The forest will rumble at you, man. He is coming. You can hear logs kicking. You know he's coming when you're inside that 100-yard bubble, right? You know he's coming. If he's staying put and doing the chuckles and things like that, and he might be, round up bugling, whatever it may be, he's not feverishly coming at you. You got to make a switch. Because you either got to make him feverishly mad at you where he's coming, or you got to take the fight to him, right? And when a lot of times taking the fight to him depends on your terrain. If your terrain's super thick, man, get your butt up in there and get eyes on him, put an arrow in him, man. That's just that's how I hunt. And I love calling bulls. That's my favorite thing. But I know when they're marching and when they're not. And I'll make that switch really quick.
But I don't know if it's because of the time of year, because I'm usually an early season hunter myself, because, that's the time of year I usually hunt. And I don't know if it's because of that or what, but I really, out of all the elk that I've killed, and I cannot think of and picture in my mind a bull that, to me, I had one that did to Larry Gill, but to me, I've never had a bull come marching in like that. To me, all of them have come in, looked, kept walking, looked, been that type of situation where I had to convince them, to come in and try to find something. They were looking, they were in search of, they weren't pissed off, eyes all red. I've never had that.
I have.
I haven't. I've never had that.
RC Knox and I've experienced it firsthand.
That's out of, when I think about it, that's out of 37 elk, man. I've never had that, right? So when I think about that, and again, it might be because of the time of the year, but when I think about that, I'm just like, when you have a bull that's doing that comes in, they're going to do one or two things. They're either going to keep coming, or they're going to have a little bit of a red flag and turn and go back the other way. And that doesn't mean that bull's not killable if they turn and walk away. And I think that's the most important point I'm trying to make, right? Is just because that bull turns and walks back the way he came doesn't mean that bull's not killable. You
Agreed, man. 100%.
And sometimes it allows you to, you have to slow down, right? We want to do stuff on our time, elk time. They always take a little bit longer most times to come in. Slow down and assess that situation. What is he saying to me? What am I delivering? How far do I think he is now? We hear that bugle and we're like, oh crap. And we start beelining. You're going to get busted, or you're going to call. You're going to him. And he's like, oh, he's coming to me. Like I said earlier. So I think slowing down in that too, and assess it. And then once you get into the scenario that Joe just played through and that bull walks away, settle down. Don't have to chase him hard. Settle down, assess the situation, and move in methodically with a plan in your head.
Yeah. And on part two, Joe, I think as a partner, on the partner side of it, and not just the single guy, but the partner side of it, to do exactly what you and I did to call that bull in for Chav, is to put on your own party and sound like a herd of elk. Especially
for a silent bull like that, right?
That's right.
And I'm glad that you brought up the partner aspect, because he was talking about that. If I've got a bull that's coming in silent, I totally agree with Guy. You got a younger class bull, or you have a bull that's really not into it yet, that's measuring the competition, checking out the situation with the cow. So I'm definitely doing, a scenario as a partner to try to pull him by, right? And that scenario does not even have to be bugling. I could use raking. I could use
that's right, panting,
right,
bunking,
and those types of things, right?
Raking.
And going to that third one, the bull is 60 to 80 yards out. and he's too thick to see him. So basically, when you say that bull's 60 to 80 yards out, that bull's pretty much on top of you, or sounds a lot like
In your lap.
right? Because at 60 to 80, they can almost sound like they're more on top of you than when they're only 20. And I don't know if you understand what I mean by that, but the closer they get to you, depending on how they turn their head, their voice sounds more airy than it does powerful. I don't know if that's the only way I can explain it to people, but if that bull is 60, 80 yards, chuckling every now and then from the same distance, but too thick to see him at 20 yards, if that bull is chuckling, that bull really is inviting. That bull is, probably again, a younger class bull. And I don't know what kind of sounds that you're putting on there, but if it's too thick to see him at 20 yards, man, I'm going to do some things, because actually you're in a great setup. If they're 60 to 80 yards out and it's too thick to see them beyond 20, you're in a good position right there to bring that animal into you. Okay. And you could do that with some scenario stuff, or you could just do it where, Travis loves the light chuckle, and I would throw it back behind me, that if that bull's chuckling, I might give him a light chuckle, and then I might do or one of the things that, I know Guy is really fond of is where I try to bring that in with a regathering type mew, insisting, telling that bull, come here, right? Especially if he's just chuckling, because that bull just chuckling is not somebody that's telling me or giving me orders. He's like, okay, I'm here, come on over. But if I get insistent and tell him, give him orders, marching orders come to me, I might be able to pull that bull to me.
Yes.
Joe, when you called that bull in for me up the hill, that bull bugled in our face at 35 yards, and it shook my soul, brother. I'm going to tell you straight up. That bull, if you get a bull within 20 to 40 yards and he field bugles at you and chuckles, he will shake your soul, brother. I promise you. It is something that you'll never forget in your life. And I don't know if it's an intimidation thing or not, but you got to really keep your wits about you. And you'll know they're that close. 60 to 80 yards, man. I'm still trying to hunt him, and like Joe said, partnered up, I'm actually moving away from my partner now. And I'm doing everything I can to invite him to follow me away way I'm going, right? And steer that bull to the partner.
And
right?
thank you for mentioning partner, because in that situation where in that third one, 60 to 80, stick at 20, heck yeah, my partner's going to start going away from me and pulling that bull by, man. Because if that bull's just chuckling, he might be just a little bit timid. And as you start to add that distance, that bull will actually keep that same distance.
Come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Joe.
Have you had that happen, Trav?
Well, the other, yeah, for sure you have. But the other thing I was thinking about, like, especially in that third one, he's 60, 80, most guys, they get too impatient and they want to make something happen. Like, they feel like they got to make something happen. If you'll just slow down, like Guy says, slow down, take a breath, do some light chuckling, maybe some really light raking, and play off that elk's time clock, because they don't have a 24-hour time clock like what we do. They're doing elk things. He's going to do it at his pace. You have to just wait him out until he gets to that point where he's starting to get frustrated, or he's bored of waiting to see you do something. And the minute you rake the tree again or just pull some grass, maybe that's just the stroke that's going to make him take a couple more steps forward. And it's all because you paid it patiently and just kind of waited on them. There's that certain time limit. You gotta wait past his time limit, because they love to play that cat and mouse game. That's what they do. That's how they survive. If they just come running in to all your calls instantly, all the elk could be dead. So that's why they
everybody be doing it the right way.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's what I meant by most of the bulls that I've killed. Bulls were coming in search of, taking their time, doing their races, right? Yeah.
I called a bull in for Chav, and that bull had been bugling all morning up on the big top of this ridge. And we finally, with my fat butt, get all the way up there to the top of that ridge. And I made one cow call, and it was more like a insistent cow call, like a lost cow call. And that bull blew up. And Chav goes, Gilbert, I think that bull's coming this way. He said, why don't you bugle once? And I bugled, and that sucker cut me off. So he goes, do it again. And look, I'm telling you, I could make the sounds, but I didn't know what the hell I was saying. I promise you, right? But Chav was teaching me, this is what you do, And so he would do something like this for a cow call, and then he'd do like that for a bugle, And I just did whatever Chav told me to do, and that bull was incensed when he walked in there on us, man. But he was marching to find us. He actually stopped feet away from Chav, right? And turned to his right, and then that's when Chav got to draw on him and everything. And man, but that bull came from a long way off. We finally got him to where I don't know if he was bedded or if he was just up there meandering around or what, but he'd been bugling all morning up there, right? And we finally, like you said, Chav, we took our time. Yeah. We took our time. Of course, I ain't got but one gear. Y'all know it's 4-wheel drive and slow. And anyway, we got there. Yeah. We got there, man. And it was because Chav knew the cadence and the how to get that bull stirred up. I could make the sounds. And he told me, a louder cow call or whatever. It was it was the first time I'd called a bull in from a considerable distance. And I learned so much out of that whole experience.
Yeah.
You said something. Yeah.
And because you were doing all that and the bull was responding, another herd bull came up from the opposite direction too. So.
Yeah, with a bunch of cows. He had 15 or 20 cows with him that he was bringing up, man. He was incensed that there was another bull up there in his area, and he was herding them up. I mean, it was crazy. I'd killed a bull with Joe the morning before. If I'd have had a tag, we'd have doubled up right there, man. It was so awesome, I think it is. I think it is a morning I didn't take my bow. I'm not 100% sure.
Think about what you guys are saying, man. I mean, you're screaming at a bull screaming at you. And then Chav said, because of that, another one, because when you hear those bulls screaming like that, that signifies what? A hot cow, man. That's other bulls in, man. So, yeah.
But how many times you and I seen two bulls with a herd of cows, hear another bull go off and some more cow talk to the northwest, east, or west of them, and they just leave those cows and go on, I mean, you see it happen. It's like, why are they leaving all these cows to go? Because those cows ain't in heat. They know where they are. They're going to go where they can find the party, man. BYOB here. We go on where it's free.
Yeah, I was just saying what Gilbert said struck me as something that's very true. Like he was saying he was cow calling, but then Chav said, a little bit more, a little bit louder. So he threw out some louder ones, and that's more insistent automatically. So not only is that bull hearing, holy, this elk's telling me like more demanding, but also, like you say, those far off elk are now hearing as well. Like there could be elk 200 yards behind them, and they're hearing these cow sounds finally versus just going. Those other elk are going to hear that a lot quicker. So I just kind of picked up on what Gilbert was saying there. But most guys, they want to call really quiet because you're close to this elk. Don't worry about it. Call loud to that elk. You're pretending to be an elk, and elk are loud anyways. So I find that a lot. Guys are really quiet and they're hesitant to call, but just call and.
I used my bugle tube too to project it even louder. I'll get in that bugle tube and I mean, it projects even further behind me,
Well, it makes it sound like there's multiple cows there when you do that, because you can do it with your mouth, do it with your call, putting in different directions. Look, to all our listeners, man, we love these kinds of questions.
Yeah. They're getting 100 years worth of elk knowledge right here, babe. I hope they understand that. These are things that guys have struggled with their whole lives.
Yeah.
80 of that's from Joe by himself.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you the California howdy, dude. But I tell you what, man,
The Canadian #1.
when you give these, you give us these kinds of scenario questions, this is where the juices start flowing because, and what's going to happen is each one of us, Travis and Guy and Chav, Gil and RC and myself, we're each going to have a different picture in our mind, a different perspective, or even go back to something that we saw, did, or heard that's going to be a little bit different because we're going to tag that scenario that we were in on that. So it's really cool because you're going to get a lot of different stuff. So when you have these scenario questions like this, send them on in. We really love this stuff. All right.
So, Joe, to cap, can I cap on what you were saying?
Yeah.
Is as we are, as the six of us are talking through these scenarios and we're giving you our experience, you need to look for the similarities in each of our experiences. That's going to make you even stronger, right? If you can say, okay, similarity, don't look for the difference, look for the similarity and put that in your repertoire.
Yeah, man. And that's what makes us so successful is we share all of that info together when we're hunting, right? And I mean, it takes us to the next level of being able to get it done. And I mean, because look, it's super hard what you're doing. If you guys are out there, hunting solo, guys experienced, he actually experienced getting to hunt with some guys this past year in our camp. And he's like, man, this is pretty cool having a couple of guys with you, man. I'm always by myself and lone wolf McCoy, and he said, this is really cool. And so he got to see it from another perspective too, when he's the caller or he's not. I mean, it's a whole different perspective. You know what I mean? Guys, y'all know what time it is. It's time for our Elk Bros shout-outs. If you're new to the show, shout out to our followers in a few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week, Joe.
Yes, sir. First, we're going to reward some reviewers, man. We're going to have the Spin a Winner, Elk Bros Spin a Winner wheel, man. For those folks that leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or give us a comment on our YouTube channel, and listen, you got to include your name and where you're from. We're placing those names in our Elk Bros Spin a Winner wheel, and it's so cool that Travis is here because the winner is going to get a Wapiti River call and a signature Elk Bros diaphragm call. So, guys, let me get this shared out, and we will do this. So the Spin a Winner wheel right here. I'm going to take that now before I get going. Oh, I got it started.
Yay.
She's going.
And the winner is
Lewis.
Justin Gotham. Up in Oregon.
Up in Oregon.
And look, we had, and I went ahead and clicked this thing too soon. But we had Timothy Welch out of Albany, Oregon. We had Ty Brooks of Powhatan, Virginia. We had Eric Reed out of Cincinnati, Steve Osborne, Adele, Iowa, John Waldron out of Rawlings, Charlie Newberry out of Henrietta, Texas, Ed Morris out of Louisville, Kentucky, Justin Gotham, who just won the calls. Justin's a great guy, too, by the way. John Child out of Layton, Utah. Keith Durr out of Aurora, Colorado. Coach Brandon Starr. Oh, they won the state championship in track this year. Hot Springs. Shout out to him. Arizona. Scott Schwab out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Chris McKelvey out of Meriden, Idaho. Randy N. out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Jason Schultz out of Salem. Rob Greer out of Wellesley, Ontario. Tom Roth out of Milton, Wisconsin. Cody out of New York, and Chris Talbot out of New Orleans, man. So that was the people that were in this week.
Joe is seeing that, right? Is seeing all the repeat guys, the guys that are constantly getting in, Keith and Ed sends us, you and I, emails, seems like weekly. Yeah. And then to see Mr. Tom Roth on there, that was in Adventure Camp last year, that in my head speaks volumes for what's being done here at Blue Collar and then Elk Bros Adventure. So shout out to those boys and everybody else.
Yeah. They're all you people, man.
Phenomenal people.
So we'll be sending going. We'll be sending a call. Which one do you think we ought to send, Justin, of that Wapiti River calls, man? Huh?
I think since we were just talking about the bull doing some chuckles, let's send him the chuckler.
There you go. We'll send him the chuckler so you can fix that. But
Did I
okay.
get a chuckler? I didn't get a chuckler.
Yeah. Did I get a chuckler in my package?
I got, you know what? I laughed at this and when I saw it, I was like, oh, the frolicker.
Yeah.
Man,
I
that's
love that
funny,
call.
dude.
All right, so
I love every one of your calls, brother. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Damn
Yeah.
sure.
Travis,
I
you're going to
know.
have our top week listening city.
Okay,
Can
so
you
this
do
week
your best Manano voice, though, man?
Yeah, that'd be funny, eh? Okay, this week's top listening city, Bleeds Bronco, orange and blue, is a northeastern suburb of Denver, located 10 miles from the Mile High City. It was named after former Colorado governor and has 25 major parks, 80 miles of trails, and easy access to recreational activities in nearby Bar Lake. It's Thornton, Colorado.
Thornton, Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado.
Awesome.
He said
Guy Duplantier's
80
home
miles
state.
of trails and easy access. That's Colorado, baby. You can walk out the back door.
Guy could have kept his eyes closed and told you where that was coming from.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had to give a little shout out too, because the best man to my wedding was from Thornton, Colorado.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Who's the best man in your wedding, Joe?
You know what? I have not been able to find Mark Jacobson. It was his name. I haven't been able to
Wow.
find Mark in 20 years now, man. So,
Mark, if you're out there, give Joe a jingle.
yeah, if you can
Mhm.
go ahead and do that. But and I thought it was kind of cool, Bar Lake, and I was like, is that BEAR? And because over here sometimes everybody's like, I got me a big old bar.
Yeah.
Some boys from Texas that transplanted into New
Yeah.
Mexico, man.
Yeah.
You're
Joe, this next town is located within the, I guess they want to say that Suet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is it
Suet?
Suet?
The Tootin? The Toots?
That's what I would say, Joe.
Tootin, I
Tootsin?
think.
Tootsin?
Yeah.
It's 145 Indian Reserve or native land that is leased until 2095. It was originally a residential community for employees of the nearby Trans Alta Power Plant and is less than 15 minutes from several beautiful landmarks such as Elbow Falls, Bragg Creek Provincial Park, and the Canyon Creek Ice Cave. It's a perfect place to try spelunking in Redwood Meadows, Alberta, Canada.
Alberta,
Wow.
house,
You
man.
know, who decides this? Because you would think Travis has Alberta, I have Colorado, Chav. We probably give Chavs over to Gil because Gil's the traveler.
Yeah.
Manano originally would have had the first one from Colorado, and Travis jumped in for us tonight, man, being the
That's
dude
right.
that he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm gonna have to check this out because this must be south of me somewhere.
Okay.
Because I tell you what, I used to be a huge snowmobiler, and we'd go up into the mountains,
Mhm.
and we'd go into those ice caves,
Mhm.
and I swear to God, you walk down into these ice caves, and it just opens up, like literally they're caves,
Wow.
and you touch the ice on the wall. Well, for one, you can see like 8 to 6 feet through the ice, like.
Wow.
But you touch the ice and it's totally dry and just smooth. It's like touching glass.
Wow.
It's
Oh, that's cold
incredible.
ice.
And I swear
tell
you're
you-
looking
sorry,
through that ice. No, you're good. I swear you're looking through that ice and I'm looking for a caveman or something prehistoric back in the background,
A
right?
mammoth.
Like
A
a
woolly
mammoth. or
mammoth.
something.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it takes some gumption to do that spelunking.
What is
Ain't no way.
spelunking?
Oh,
What
when
is
they go- when they-
spelunking?
In caves and caverns and explore them, man, and
Yep.
they get into these crevices, and I forget what the term is that they use, but to move through them, they're so tight that you can only do it on exhale. Like,
Yeah.
nah, brother. No,
I'm
brother, I'm out.
I'm out.
You gotta
The shift in the Earth's crust mean death.
Oh.
No, I'm out, dude.
Chav, myself,
That's
and our wives actually did one of those where it got that tight trying to get, and my wife was actually pregnant with our first child at the time.
boy.
We were
So
way
that's what
underground.
spelunking is going in these caves,
Yeah.
and getting in these tight
Boring.
quarters.
Yeah,
No,
man.
I'm out.
No, it's
Y'all
not
can
my
keep it,
gig.
Alberta.
Unlike the one where
Mm.
you jump off of cliffs that's splatting.
That was a bad joke from him.
I'm not spelunking or splatting nothing.
Oh yeah.
Leave it to the redwood meadows
There's a
population.
spot here in Glenwood, and it's basically a cave tour, right? Where it's roomy, but then when you get in there, and I forget how far back it was when these guys explored this cave system here, and they were using candles with basically coffee tins with holes punched in them to get through this stuff. And you look at some of these corridors and passages that they had to go through. Nah, man. That scared the bejesus out of me just looking at them with a candle. Oh,
With a candle.
no!
As soon as
brother.
that candle goes out, you in a lot of trouble, dude.
No,
Well,
I'm good
yeah.
on that mess.
Because you ain't got any oxygen to keep it alive. So when that candle goes out, babe,
You're in trouble.
You're done.
Nope.
you done, babe.
All right,
Okay.
guys, you're up, bro.
All right. Known for spooky ghost encounters and paranormal confrontations, this little town that could is a former mining town and known as a living ghost town. It is the most diverse town in Utah, as residents speak 27 different languages. It was named after the helper engines that were stationed at the mouth of Price Canyon, ready and waiting to assist trains to the summit. Helper, Utah.
Oh yeah, helper.
Mm.
That's pretty interesting.
So they
27 different
had
languages?
additional engines that would help push the train up past the summit then, huh?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
27
exactly.
different languages in a town that size. That's the truth.
Yeah, in Utah. I mean, it's predominantly Mormon, huh?
So in
What does that
Utah,
have to do with the price of tea in
Well, I mean, they just
China?
don't speak that many. Most of them are going to speak English, I would think. You know?
yeah.
It was a mining town.
Gil just stereotyped the entire state of Utah.
Yeah. So,
Well, hey, man, we're from Texas. We speak Texan or Mexican. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
Mexican
gonna
or
say
Mexican.
it's,
That's it.
Oh, those mining towns had immigrants from all over, man.
Yeah.
True.
all over.
Yep.
True. You know, I
All
didn't think
over.
about that, Joe. That's right, man. Probably have every
Oh,
race and ethnicity
absolutely.
out there, you know.
Mhm.
so what do they mine in Utah? Is it gold or is
was
it
coal.
Copper.
I think it was coal.
Oh, copper. Oh,
Copper
okay,
and
coal.
But this was
Okay.
coal in this one, yeah. It
yeah,
was
lignite and coal and
okay.
the Bingham copper mine's a big mine there. They mine a lot of stuff up there. Heck, I heard they were going to start mining helium and everything else up there. Man, they're finding a lot more natural resources in Utah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
They mine.
Wow.
Okay, you gotta have to educate me now. They mine helium.
Yeah, well, they're drilling for it for sure. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Chav.
going to be
Interesting.
neat.
It comes up the hole and everybody's talking like this. We're gonna be rich. We're gonna be rich.
That's one of the 27 languages.
Yeah, there you go.
Good on you,
You get a
Trav.
lot of languages.
Canadian dwarf. That's one of the 27 languages.
All right, Chav.
Okay,
Man.
Okay, this city is the gateway or crossroads of southeast Montana. In 1876, Major Marcus Reno of the 7th Cavalry fought at the Battle of nearby Powder River. After the encounter, he turned west and headed to the Little Bighorn to join the rest of the 7th Cavalry in history. If I recall, he encountered the Sioux before he got there, so he actually survived.
Mm.
Wasn't
Really?
any help to he wasn't any help to the red-haired Custer. And this is in Brodus, Montana.
There's Montana.
Brodus, Montana.
Very cool, man.
Hey.
So we had Montana,
south-
Utah, Alberta,
Southeastern
Canada,
corner, yeah.
Colorado. Very cool. So let's jump into our main content, man. This is what we're all about. Best days to hunt elk. Our goal is to do a breakdown of the 2023 elk season. What we're going to do is we're going to do an overall look at best day time frames and then focus in on our home state of New Mexico and Colorado, just as samples for developing thoughts and strategies. But you'll see how you can apply these to any state. We're also going to break it down by months and then by time scenarios and talk about what we think are the best 7 days, 5 days, and even 3 days for those weekend warriors of you guys out there. And this happens to a lot of people. There's a lot of guys that, man, just can't get away at the same amount of time, or they might be able to get out on multiple weekends like that. So we're going to talk about that as well. Not everybody can get out there on 7 to 10 days or 5 day hunts.
No.
And if you're talking about a 5 day hunt and you're having to travel, that is actually a 7-8 day hunt a lot of times, by the time you get back home. So
depending on how far you go.
Yep. And then another thing will be how our thoughts change for those at different ability levels, from the 1st to 3rd year beginner to the 3rd to 5th year hunter with average skills and some harvests under their belt. And it's going to be pretty cool because we actually, we have Chavez here tonight as well. So what I'm going to do, fellas, is I'm going to bring up the 2023 calendar and share that so that we can look at that and have that discussion about it. And this is actually on our site, so anybody can go to elkbros.com and you can go to the top right there at the best day calendars and click on that, and you can find our general calendar. And with each of these, we have a key that talks about what all of these things are, what the red is, what the purple moon is, what the red equinox, and what the blue arrows, and then even these bright green moons that are down here. And I'm going to kind of talk about those now, but you can find those. Then we're going to talk about our Elk Bros archery thoughts and our firearm thoughts as well, because, we kind of get archery centered because that's where we are and, what we do. Even though I guide rifle hunters, so I have a lot of insight into the rifle hunts as they go in there. Plus, a lot of these states have hunts like, Travis is here and he's talking about, September, 16th or so, they're able to start with rifle and they're able to go through to a certain date, right? So I know Montana does something with, bow and rifle, where if you don't get it during the bow season, you can go back during the rifle season. I don't know if it's Montana or Wyoming. I think it's Wyoming.
Wyoming on the special tag.
And Joe, for our listeners that are listening on the podcast, for you guys to see this, you'll need to go to our YouTube channel and you can see it. And you can also go to it at elkbros.com. But for our podcast listeners, Joe has it up on the screen right now. So if you're on our YouTube listening, you'll be able to see what we're talking about, guys.
Right, exactly. So I'm just going to cover some elements and then we're going to talk about and when you see these, I've got certain weeks or a week that's within a red square outlined in red. That is what myself, and that's where we're going to have the discussion, as myself has selected as what I feel as the prime times within that month for the hunts. Okay. And we'll talk about why, or there might be some disagreements on that. That's what's so great about this group. Now, Labor Day weekend, if you take a look at that, it's that Saturday 2nd through the 4th. Labor Day is on the 4th of September. We're actually coming out of a full moon phase on that Labor Day, with it transferring over about the 6th. When you see the purple, you see the purple moons on this calendar, that is what I have now selected as the top weekend, 3-day weekend to be able to hunt in this time phase. You're seeing the red equinox, and the equinox, guys, is basically, that is when 7 days before, 7 days after is generally prime time rut, because that rut is sparked by that equinox on these cows. It's not about weather, it's about daylight. Okay. So
shortening of the daylight, right?
Yeah, it's the longest day of the year in the summer solstice, I guess.
Summer solstice. Then the fall, you've got that fall equinox.
Yeah.
So you have that equal point of day and darkness in that point right there. So,
Yeah.
and then when you see the blue arrows going there. This is the first time that I've done this, but that's in selecting the best 5 days. And I actually had a toss up this year and we'll talk about that. Now, when you see the bright green moons, what you're looking at there is when a cow elk comes in estrus, then that cow, if it is not bred, will come back again in about 21 days. Will come back in estrus to be able to hopefully be bred and conception occurs. If it doesn't happen in that second one, they will come in a third time. Okay. So what I have there is when you look at those dates, like of the 11th, that's basically looking at, I'm just saying, what if a cow came in around the 19th or 20th before the equinox? Well, if that happened, then those cows would again, and weren't bred, would come in about the 11th of October. If not bred, then come in about the 1st of November. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of when other estruses can happen that can trigger ruts to happen at that time.
Yeah,
so can you hear bulls bugling in November? Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And in August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
late
And so
August, yeah.
you
Yeah.
take what you're saying, Travis. If I did have a cow, and generally those are older cows that are going to come in first. Okay. Those younger cows are going to be later. But if you have a cow that comes in estrus on the 25th, now take a look. If that cow's not bred, take a look at how that could now change and when that could happen, as far as when it happens in September and then October. So that can actually create different things. And I think what happens with that, when you have a cow that comes in early in August, their second estrus can happen prime time again in September.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it can be kind of lit. So with that in mind, like that, what we want to do is we're going to cover, what we talked about as far as what would be the best time frame. And I'll go ahead and defend and say why I selected this. And well, better yet, I'm just going to shut up. I'm going to let you guys take a look at September. And what would you guys select and why as the best, let's say, 7 to 10 days or 2-week period in September to be able to hunt elk, and why?
All right, I'll go since everybody else is quiet. I'm gonna aim from my experience here in Colorado, and I'm gonna say that first week that includes Labor Day weekend. Plus or minus 7 to the 9th, because we're limited by Joe's 7 to 10 days. But then I also like that 22nd to the end of season or the end of the month. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple reasons there. That first week, we got recreators, and other hunters hitting the woods.
So let me do this to help you out, bro. There you are. There's Colorado.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Labor Day weekend does get a lot of recreators, but the bulls, the elk, are untouched essentially, right, from last season. They don't have that. They have months of no pressure hunting them. The recreator pressure and stuff like that. But I believe that they get accustomed to that and they can deal with it when we start going, predator mode. Then they pick up on that. And then that last week, that muzzleloader season there in the green, that's a rough few days in Colorado with some of the units, the amount of muzzleloader hunters we have. So given that gap and letting things kind of quiet down from, call it the 18th to that equinox, 22nd, 23rd area, is a preference, and then hitting that last week really hard. Now, the caveat to that being, I would like to know what the muzzleloader hunters were doing, where they were frequenting, where the animals pushed to, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll take that first week and then that last week over everything else that I see there.
I like your pick.
Joe ghosted us.
Yeah, that's all right.
So
Is Knox
yeah.
still
Yeah, I
there?
think, I've heard that the week prior to the equinox and the week after is really prime time for the rut. But, we do like that first week just because, the elk aren't really, they're still doing their routine. And even though there's a lot of visitors on Labor Day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
On Labor Day, there a lot of places they're used to a lot of traffic anyway. The hunting pressure might not be as tough as people think. So for Colorado, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and for me, coming from Alberta, I'm looking at that September, and I'm looking at the 10th, the week of the 10th. For one thing, you're past the full moon, so it's now darker all day long. So you're going to have lots of action in the morning. You can get into action in the midday, which is where I really love to get in on them. And then you also have lots of good action in the evening. Yep. Those elk aren't scared to move, and it's prime time. For some reason in Alberta, that 10th, 11th, 12th is really when the bulls really start firing off.
Do you guys think it's kind of a misnomer when we start talking about the full moon and the effect that it has in the animals not being as active? Of course, during the day they're out, they're out longer in the night. But I almost think that it's a misused kind of, talk when we talk about them. For me, a full moon gets me out earlier. I can get in farther in the dark. I can get to transitions. I can get to bedding areas, beat them there, give myself a better chance of setting up. What do you guys think about that full moon situation?
I like hunting a full moon. I really do.
Yeah. I don't care what the moon is, man.
Yeah,
I'm getting after him.
I think what Travis says is legit, that it gives you more morning and evening time. But especially, depending on what time you get up out of bed. But the way my style of hunting is man, I'm like you. I'm already going to be on them boogers, and I'm going to be on them in gray light basically, and working those animals. And if they're traveling up, I'm with them. If they're not traveling up, I'm going to get a shot on one. So if they're going to be screaming all night long, I'm going to be on them, and I'm going to be able to learn a lot from those full moon nights about those animals, where they are and located. So
all night, man.
Yeah. So the moon
great opportunity.
The moon up part of it really doesn't affect me as much, but it's funny that Travis said what he did, because all right, I already know Chav. Like, I'm the one that always kind of takes us a little bit past Labor Day weekend, but Chav's like, and we've had so much success on opening day and the opening 2 days. And I can't tell you how many times, and it's the same thing Travis told me, like, okay, so we had a chance, we're heading up to Canada, and Trav, opening day is 25th this year.
Yeah.
And when did you say we should be hunting?
Well, for me, as soon as you brought up the calendar, I was salivating at my mouth looking at the full moons through the 25th of August, that whole week coming in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, we are going to be in elk like crazy. Like, I love that time. That's my favorite time. First off, the first 3 days, no matter what, do not miss it. Grab your bow, whatever you got to do, get out there for opening day. I mean, you guys know the elk are dumb. It's the best chance before you get all the masses out there. And then it moves right into that September, like after that Labor Day weekend. And it's the same thing here. The quads are roaring everywhere. I mean, we got quad clubs and all that. They're going all summer long. Listen, I can literally drive right up to where I know there's elk. I can shut my machine off. And if there's a bull there that will bugle, sometimes you don't even got to do anything. You just shut the quad off, break a stick, and he's bugling. I mean, and like last year, it happened to me and my buddy Jason. We got off the quad. I doubled Jason in. literally we got off. I shut it off. We got off. He was still getting his bow ready, and this bull fired off, and he's coming in on us like crazy. Like he bugled. He was 100 yards out, and the next thing I know, he's right beside us in the darkness, like breaking sticks, coming in, walking. And Jay's looking at me. He's going, "He's coming. He's coming." You know, he got an arrow knocked. It's before legal shooting time. It's like we weren't expecting this whatsoever. so be prepared. Like it happens.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. And the reason that I put the days that I did is because we really like the opening first couple of days. We like that. What I don't like is when everything shuts up on the 4th through the 7th, right? I mean, it as far as, and I gotta put this right, because we know how to hunt silent elk, but man, it's so much more fun when they are starting to get going, right? And I'm not looking for elk that are screaming and running in at me. I just want them to pipe off a little bit so that I can really be able to work them, right? So in looking at that, well, that's one reason that when we're going to Alberta, we're going to start hunting on the 25th. We're going to hunt elk when they are, and man, if they shut up, we're ready to hunt the way we hunt to be able to get them. So we're not that worried about it. But in looking at everybody else and looking at skill sets and the different things there, and it does depend on what kind of experience you're looking for. If you're looking for an experience that's a little bit more quiet and not so, all the quads and ATVs and stuff, then you're going to avoid that Labor Day weekend, right?
Just get off the dang roads.
Yeah. Well, not really in Colorado. A lot of places you get off the roads, man. And it seems, if you've done your homework and you know where to go, yes. But there's a lot of times, man, it just seems like it's always going. And then when you're camping, it's like, and that was the thing that was tougher, was more the camping situation than the hunting. We didn't run into people or anything like that out hunting, but you're camping and friggin' all night long stuff is going on. So that gets to be irritating. But
they just got lumberjacks everywhere. You hear chainsaw. They're cutting firewood. But everybody's freezing to death needing firewood.
I'm with Trav in that, man. I really think the 9th, 10th, I think those critters really start to feel their oats and are starting to really, you're starting to hear animals and bulls that are starting to measure up other bulls. They're starting to gather the cows, and it's not the big bulls that are gathering them. It's the smaller bulls that are gathering them, but the big bulls are in the wings, and you're getting that activity. You're starting to get a little bit of that stuff going on. And I really think that week I'd love from the 10th till about the 17th and 18th. That's something that I really like. But man, I mean, that 2-week period right there, because you do have that dark and they're going there. And then from the 17th to the equinox is going to be lit for the same reason. I don't think that you're going to go wrong for any of those, really. But for bulls that are more hungry and coming in search of, I think the earlier, the better when they're doing that. That's why I put the 13th, that's the 15th, 16th, 17th as my choice for the top weekend dates. Now, sometimes that's limited by your hunts. Like if, we go to New Mexico, well, Colorado, you take a look at Colorado, you got the Labor Day weekend. And I'm sorry, fellas, but for me, and now, Guy, you're in the state and you hunt it. Maybe you're comfortable hunting the muzzleloader. Myself, I'm not. So, that kind of puts me into, a different situation. I would have been, if I'm doing a weekend, I'd have done that, that 23rd or, that Friday, Saturday, or the 30th or something like that.
Yeah, but I would say if you're going to go out of those 2 weekends, I would go that last weekend, right? Because once Muzzy hits, man, it takes so much time for those animals to kind of settle back in and realize that pressure's kind of calmed down a little bit. So with that being said, I'd go that, what is that, the 29th, 30th there.
Yeah, but you're only got that 2 days on that, right? You're only going to get 2
Mhm.
days on that. So
Yep.
you're going to have to leave
Yeah.
on Thursday night, travel, and get up early and get after it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can see that occurring.
And I like what you said there, Guy, because like you say, that the muzzy is going to stir up a lot of emotions in the elk. And even after, so say those guys have 5 or 7 day holiday, once they go home, you have to still count in another 4, 5, maybe 6
Absolutely.
days for those elk to kind of calm down and get
in their
back into
pattern.
their routine, right? Yeah,
get back in their
exactly. So
pattern.
that last week, even though it's a full moon throughout the whole thing, I mean, just get ready to do some scenario calling and get in there midday. I mean, obviously hunt morning, but really, really focus on scenario calling, midday action. You're gonna slay it, honestly.
I will say, I mean, for my experience is that full moon keeps folks in camp. And
Yep.
you can see it, and you look up in the sky and it's full moon, man, that's even more reason to be out in them woods.
Yeah.
Well,
at 3:30, 4 o'clock, getting boots on the ground. There's so much to discover, right? If you could figure out where they're at in that full moon and dark, and you got that cover and you're moving stealthy, you got to know a couple things: where they're feeding, where they're bedding, and position yourself in that transition.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
and it's a great time to be
Exactly.
in the woods.
So go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Go ahead, Joe. Okay. So that last thing there you just said, Guy, like those elk are going to be bugling through the night, and then there's nothing worse than that last bugle that the bull gives before he starts heading up to his bedroom.
Yeah, but
right?
it's
It's like sayonara,
yeah,
and
buddy.
then it's silent.
Yeah,
So
good luck catching
Yo and R, point of no return.
exactly. Yeah, he's moving on.
I think
Joe, when we hunted Colorado, we hunted that first week, and there were a lot of people, but man, we saw a lot of elk. We got on a lot of elk too, but it was because I think a lot of them were dumb. A lot of them hadn't seen that pressure. And then I think you guys went back after that and saw what the transition was like between the archery and muzzleloader season, and those areas didn't have near as many elk in them when y'all went back.
Yeah, and I don't give that much credit to the muzzleloaders of disrupting the animals. I think, man, the closer you get to that equinox, I think those bulls and
Traveling.
testosterone, I think they're going to start chasing cows no matter, because I mean, I guide too much in areas, and on small ranches that when gunfire goes off and we continually kill bulls, even with muzzleloader and even with rifle.
Okay,
so
let's define a small ranch that's bigger than the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Right, but
I'm talking about other places, man.
Gotcha. But you gotta, the amount of traffic that you're seeing on that as well, right? I mean, if you talk about last season and the amount on that OTC unit I was in, the amount of muzzleloader traffic, it wasn't that you couldn't get into elk. The elk weren't saying a daggum word, right? And then you had to look for them in the less conspicuous places,
correct,
and understand where they're going to that safe haven. But man, they wouldn't make a flipping peep. That was something that you could say, "Oh, there's an elk over there." It was like, you had to go in search mode.
But did you get a chance to get out at that time in a full moon and see if they were making any noise?
I'm on the mountain for 30 days, my brother.
Yeah,
The only time I came off the mountain was to drive down to adventure camp.
But that's not my question, bro. So in the middle of the night in a full moon, were they screaming?
No,
he was sleeping.
Okay.
No,
he was so tired he was sleeping.
Because one thing I have found out that I've seen with the animals is that they are going to do their behaviors at the time that they're most safe. And most of the time that's in the middle of the night when they have a full moon, so even in areas where there's rifles going off. I mean, we have rifle ranges that the doggone elk come
walk into.
Yeah.
I think it's traffic more than rifle fire. I think it's just the side by sides, the people parking, people walking in the woods, kind of just beating brush with, what I mean? Like carefree beating brush, like they're a hiker. I think has more of a effect on them than the actual gunfire.
So if we slide down to New Mexico and look at our home state, our state is actually broken into 2 hunts. You've got one that's a 14-day hunt from the 1st to the 14th, and then you have a 10-day hunt from the 15th through the 24th, right? So in looking at that, it was really like, for New Mexicans, like, well, do I hunt the first hunt? Well, most of them have drawn, so they're going to have to do whatever they've drawn already. So if I take a look at when do I hunt that hunt, what's the best time to do it? For me, it's like Chav said, man, if you can get out there an opening weekend and you can hunt that because it's Labor Day weekend, and then go on another date when you have your hunt to be out there in days. And I tell you what, man, that week of the 10th through the 14th is and includes Saturday on that, because you might as well. You're going to travel on Friday. You're going to go the 9th through the 14th, and then you're going to be able to have incredible. That, I think, is the best time of that. And then really, man, from the 15th up until, I think that second hunt, especially. Well, anytime you have dark moon and then you come out of it, the elk are still acting as if it's dark moon. They haven't made that transfer over yet, right?
And we're getting to the equinox too.
Yeah, and you got the equinox as you're getting closer. I just think, coming out of the gate, I think it's going to be lit. That 15th, man, should be that 15th through the 20th is, to me, that's the best time.
Elk Bros adventure hunt's going to be on fire, brother.
Yeah, it is. It's
It's going to be good. The winner of our hunt and the guys that are coming in on the coached hunts, man, are going to have a blast.
So the best weekend for you guys in New Mexico is, you take a look, you got that Labor Day weekend. And then if you're in that first hunt, you really only have 2 weekends that you get to pick from. So your hunt, your weekends are pretty much dictated by the hunt dates, right? So,
and it makes it harder, right? In a state where, your season is dictated with those dates. I don't know if that New Mexico would be a 2 or 3 dayer for me, especially with it, being dictated like that. That's a little bit rough.
It could be.
For me, New Mexico, the 2 days, if I had to do a weekend, for me personally, would be that first Saturday and Sunday. Yeah.
If you were in the first hunt, right?
Yeah, if I was in the first hunt, absolutely.
And for me in New Mexico, if I only had a weekend and I had to do it, it would probably be, I would leave and get there on the 8th and hunt that 9th, 10th. Would be for me.
Joe, we're talking kind of separate in terms of archery. New Mexico's muzzleloader season kicks off in October, right?
Absolutely.
If I'm weekend hunting, I would be putting in for that muzzleloader tag in New Mexico and not the archery tag, and then I'm able to capitalize.
Because you could do either or.
Yeah, and then when I was down last year, we got this on the October 23 calendar. You look at that 14th, 15th weekend there. I'm saying that's money right there. Those bulls were going crazy.
The muzzleloader hunt, generally, now New Mexico has all kinds of different flavors of hunts that happen, man, depending on the unit. Okay. But generally that 7th through the 11th is a muzzleloader hunt, and it's lit.
On fire.
It's great. And then you've got your first rifle that happens generally on that 14th to the 18th, second on the 21st to the 25th. And the closer you are, even that 14th to the 18th, you can call in a bull, man. You can see where I have that second estrus possibly happening right there.
Yeah.
So,
that's 7th to the 11th hunt. And those dates are phenomenal, man. And if you've never hunted when the bulls are in like crazy mode, it's special.
So let's talk. Go ahead, Trav.
So for this Alberta or Canadian guys, I guess, that are putting in for the New Mexico draw, when it comes to the later October, your muzzleloader season there in October, can you archery hunt through that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. You can archery hunt in any of the seasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can always handicap yourself. So,
Nice. Okay.
Also, you can crossbow hunt in that muzzleloader. You know, so
Right.
you can do that as well.
Joe, have they changed the rules on muzzleloaders in New Mexico?
Yes, they have. Yes,
you
no
can only use
scopes.
no
It's
scopes.
open sights only.
Wow.
So,
Oh, okay. So
That
that's
changed. That
bringing
changed
in.
this year, huh, JoJo?
yes. Yep. So
That's
it's open
crazy.
sights only.
So
Yeah.
But
only
still-
open sights, huh?
hmm
Yeah.
Get them
So still some of those.
Quigley out.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm assuming some of those muzzleloader. I don't do it personally, but I'm guessing you're good for 150, maybe more, or how many
100.
yards?
Oh,
100.
if
Okay.
you're muzzle
Yeah.
hunting with the scope, you're good out to 200 yards, dude. I mean,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
250.
Depending
Oh, wow.
on
Yeah.
your type of load and style and what you're doing. So, you
Yeah.
know, but
I've seen
taking a
guys
look
make
at that
300
first
yards.
rifle hunt is prime time, man. I mean, you've got a dark moon. Now, we talked about the moon with archery. Now that's
Yeah.
a total flip flop with rifle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're wanting critters to be out in those open areas longer and coming out sooner,
Yeah.
right?
100%. Yeah.
Because I mean, I've guided when a lot of times, and this is where a lot of people fail to kill elk, is that a lot of times your best time to kill an animal is the last 15 minutes before legal shooting light ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that last 15 minutes when they'll pop out sometime. So
See that moon phase lines up perfect for that. Like, I mean, the elk are gonna linger longer in the mornings, and then evening they're coming out to feed a little bit earlier. So
Yeah.
that's
so
money.
if we consider Colorado on with the same thing, you know,
Yep.
you're taking a look at which hunts do you want to hunt on. Well, I'm going to go back to our overall, and you can see that for me, we talked about the archery already, but if you take a look at October, I don't care what the moon phase is in October on that first week. If you can hunt that first week in October, and with a rifle, with a muzzle loader, be there, right?
Yeah.
But in Colorado, that doesn't happen. Then in New Mexico, it happens in some places. But that second week of the 8th through the 14th, those are the 2 weeks that I think are primed out right there.
Yeah.
In still, that 15th through the 21st is a good hunt with a rifle because you're coming out of that dark moon. Those animals haven't changed that much. The only thing is, if you can hunt that first hunt when guns are going off, that's your best time, man.
You got to remember too, Colorado, we have the break between the archery season ending and first rifle.
Yes, you do.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't be out there that week. Yeah. I think it's actually 8
That's
days.
why that 14th through the 18th, that first rifle hunt is legit. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I hate to give up all the juice sometimes. I don't even know if we get there. Just do some homework on that first and second rifle season, and you know, I would say flip a coin. I would try and have two heads on the same coin for that second rifle season. Just saying, hint, hint.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You know, if I can ask a question for you guys.
Sure, RC.
So,
go ahead.
Does the weather have anything to do with it?
It's a great question for sure. I would
Oh,
say
yeah.
absolutely, especially with snow and everything else.
See, and I would disagree. I'm gonna hunt the elk, not the weather.
No, for sure, but the
No.
weather will have a great impact on their moving, how much they move and how much they get on their feet and stuff like that. I see where RC's going. But yeah, man, no matter whether we got 6 inches of snow on the ground or whether it's 85 degrees, we're going to be pounding the ground calling elk. So, but will it change their habits? Yes.
Yeah. And I agree with that weather thing on my side, with especially the October.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that first 2 weeks of October in Alberta is so awesome. I mean, for one, the foliage is starting to die off and everything's turning brown and yellow.
There's the key. Travis just dropped the key on the weather and the snow right there, buddy.
Yeah. And the elk trails are literally black. Like, like going through our bush, it's like following the yellow brick road. I mean, they're going somewhere, and you get on those trails and follow them. And there's no bugs. I mean, it's awesome. And the
big.
thing is, yeah,
What
exactly.
makes
And
those bulls go get up high and try to
Yep.
get out of the heat is those
Oh
bugs.
yeah,
Man.
yeah. In
So that's
Alberta, there's not a lot of guys hunting that time. Like
Yeah.
the 2 weeks in October, man, you have the whole place to yourself,
wow.
believe it or not.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's prime time, man. And that's why in looking at November, and again, when I look at the overall thoughts, it's not according to New Mexico or Colorado. It's just if I had, and knowing that November's probably a rifle hunt, I'm wanting to go later as possible, because now those bulls. So what happens, those bulls that after they split off and they go into recovery mode around that 11th, that first part of, that mid-October to the end of October, man, those guys are just trying to friggin' recover. And
Yeah.
they're in sanctuary mode. Then they start coming out. The later towards November, they start to come out, and weather can help you out, possibly, not always. It just depends. But also when I'm taking a look at that week of the 12th to the 18th, again, we have a great moon phase. It's at a good time in November. You got a moon phase to help you out, possibly to have some weather to help you out. And then when you go and look at like Colorado, right? Then, if you look at that, you have that week from after that second rifle hunt, which is a long hunt. That second rifle hunt is a long. You've got that week off, and then you're in that dark phase right there that you get to hit on that during a good time of year. I really think, to me, if I had to choose, if I didn't get that first rifle hunt in Colorado, man, I think I'd be a third rifle hunt myself. Would be, and that's just me. That's just how I would look at it.
Joe,
Right.
I'll ask one other question, like we were talking about earlier, on a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience archery hunting.
Right.
What would your recommendation be for them versus a guy who's got some experience like we do hunting that silent period and understanding how to hunt elk that are not talking?
The less
a lot.
experience you have, the more help you're going to need, right?
Get closer to the rut, right?
Yeah. So I'm saying, man, you want to get to when those animals, the prime time of that rut, the later in that time when those elk are screaming, because the hardest part for new hunters is locating elk, finding elk. So the best way to find elk is to have them help you find them. So I tell guys like that they want to go as late as possible. That's one reason, really, that we have our Elk Bros coached hunt when we do
Later.
Because our guys are having to really work their skill sets that we're teaching them. And the best way is to have those animals, talking out there. So
yeah, in New Mexico, boys, if you drew a tag in New Mexico and you're not experienced in the first part of the archery, if you can get one of those October 7th through 11th tags, son, it's on like Donkey Kong, man. I mean,
it's a great time.
Oh my gosh, it's just it's amazing. And not only can you okay, I can't get within 100 of them, but now I got a muzzle loader in my hand. I'm gonna put some meat on the ground. You know what I mean?
And And my opinion is my opinion. From times that I've taken guys out, I've spent so many times out in the field hunting these months that we have to learn to kill them no matter what time of year. I mean, we get 5-day hunts all through these times, right?
Yeah.
So we got to try to, but the times when it's been better is what I'm talking about. So
Agreed.
That's why I kind of lean the way I do. And, Guy being in Colorado and some things he's done, he's had boots on the ground there. He might totally disagree with what I'm saying there. And that's awesome, because those are the opinions that we want to hear from everybody else. But I tell you this, Trav, I have not heard a whole lot different from Alberta to New Mexico on thought process.
No, I was actually
elk
just going to,
everywhere.
I was going to give you a little tidbit of what I noticed from Alberta, because that's where I do my stuff. But so early August, where I 25th on, what you're going to see is it's going to be quieter, obviously, but you're going to see one bull. He's going to have maybe 2, maybe 3 cows and a calf, And they're going to be pretty nonchalant. But then you move into that September, you get into mid-September. Our bulls here, now they could have 8, 10, maybe 12 cows. It's not giant herds at that time. Every bull's got, they're all spread out. Every bull's got like 8 or 10. A lot of places I hunt, they only have 4 or 6. But then you get into October, same thing. It starts to lull down a little bit where that bull might have, 4, 6 cows kind of thing. Then you move to November. Well, now the bigger bulls have already started moving off into their sanctuaries.
Right.
And the cow herds are really, really starting to grow. Like you'll see 100 cows, 200 cows.
With some rags in there.
Yes, exactly.
Do your bulls bachelor back up, Travis? Do they bachelor back up?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And and a lot of those big bulls, they go back to their little sanctuary and they lick their wounds, right? Because they take a beating, man.
Oh man, I'm at it.
So that's the hard part, but a guy has to kind of figure out it's what month are you hunting and what are you really facing? Are you facing, one bull with a couple cows and are they going to be quiet? Versus are you facing multiple bulls that are screaming for 8 or 10, 20 cows? It's a whole different ball game. So it's kind of just a quick little rundown of what I see through the months. Because a brand new hunter.
If you were a first time hunter in Colorado, how would you lean towards? Would you hunt closer to that estrus cycle, or would you want to beat everybody into the woods before it?
I gotta, with the units that I've, most of that OTC stuff, I don't do the whole draw point rigmarole anymore. So I'm going to go in as early as I can.
Gotcha.
That seems to be,
even if you're a first time hunter.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's when you're hearing the animals. I mean, you guys saw it 2 years ago. We get so much freaking traffic, man. Those animals start to really not want to talk. But you can go in there, if season opens on the 2nd, you go in there on the 1st and bulls are screaming on the 1st. They're screaming. I think it was 3 years ago, we rolled up the camp, set up camp, and bulls started talking. And it was like, okay, we know where they're at. The year after that, I took my boy up. Almost same exact scenario. We got there a little bit late and got there about midday or so of opener and set up camp. And I don't know, 6:30, 7 o'clock that evening, right below us, 50 yards, bull raking and screaming and chuckling all by his lonesome. So I really like that first portion of the season, irregardless of Labor Day weekend and in estrus, not in estrus. Last year was phenomenal on opener. No, excuse me. It was the 2nd day of season. And man, we woke up to this mass exodus from the traffic. Just, we positioned ourselves correctly and we had, and this ain't no exaggeration. It was a 4-pound fish. I'm calling a 10-pound fish. We had 150 to 200 animals walk through our camp and kind of beating away from everybody. And it was a scream fest, man. And you're talking, that's day number 2 of the season. It's 80 degrees. And it was just, for that, it was position. It was where we were at on the mountain and we knew where they went. We can go chase them,
But Guy, let me ask you this, dude. You only can hunt 5 days. Now you're a long-termer. You're going to hunt elk.
Yeah.
So I'm still, based on experience here in Rado, I'm still going to go that opening weekend.
Okay, cool.
That's where I'm going to start it. I don't have effect of the traffic. I don't have the effect of muzzleloader season. Yeah. There is huge benefit to that with the amount of traffic that we see here. And
I agree. I thought we hunted Colorado that way a couple years ago perfectly.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we found that when we were there, man, is that there's so much recreational traffic in Colorado that the elk are conditioned already. They're, it's high use areas, they're conditioned. And I don't think that really has a whole lot to do with it. Again,
high use versus additional predation is where I would consider it, right? So now we've increased usage and now we've put more predators on the landscape, and that's where I see the difference in it. When you get people beating through the woods and calling it elk and things like that, the further I go into season, the more they do not want to respond and talk.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that from a distance or when you're right on top of them? You're not getting
Period.
a response.
Period. They don't want to
Oh,
talk, dude.
okay.
I was 40 yards away from a bedded bull last year. Just yeah. And I can see his ears. Oh, where's my camera? His ears over there, just twisting and turning and listening.
Yeah,
Dude, he wasn't saying a word. And then some of them, you'll watch them. They'll perk up and look, and they don't see nothing. They're just going to turn around and start going away. Right? I mean, we get that much freaking traffic. It is, and then it's not one guy or a partner that's walking in the woods together. Right? It's 4.
Yeah.
I saw 6 guys, and it damn near looked like a drive walking through the woods. And you sit back and you watch it, and you're going, "Oh, what are you guys doing, man?"
And if you're calling them in.
Well, but for me,
they're coming to you.
That I've said it before. When we're talking about this stuff, is I'm playing the chessboard. So I'm gathering that information, and I'm like, okay, how can I benefit myself? I got to play these other hunters. Now they're part of this landscape.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, man, to see how much traffic we get, especially in the OTC units. It is phenomenal how many guys are out there and just beating feet together. I mean, just, and then muzzleloader comes, man. Oh. And the plus with muzzleloader season is you can learn a lot by watching the camps around you. And no offense to the muzzy guys, this is from what I've seen, is there's only a, call it 5 to 6 hour period that they're in the woods a day. So beat them in, stay later, play off the effect they have on the landscape, and you're going to be an elk. I mean, it's.
And with that said, I want to add, because we're talking elk hunting for everybody, the muzzleloader hunters in Colorado have prime time this year. It is a great time to be in the woods.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Very much so. Man, what an amazing show tonight. Lots of really, I mean, when you talk about getting to the juice, this was a juice podcast, really. I mean, lots of really good stuff for, our listeners. They gave us some great questions to answer, especially on the hanging up bulls and stuff like that. A lot of perspectives from our elk hunting coaches. We had the legend weigh in and the world champion elk caller, Mr. O'Shea, and Guy Duplantier with his diverse knowledge. And then, you got the Ninja and WWJGD up there. These guys are the very best at calling elk and then understanding what time's a good time to get in the woods. And I don't know, I've been so fortunate to myself be able to hunt all of those times that, man, for me, it's about hunting elk, and I'm going to get out there regardless whether it hair lips the governor, blow down, parties going on around us, lumberjacking and NASCAR, and we don't care, man. We're going to get out amongst them and try to call some bulls in. So it's a fantastic show. Lots of great content tonight, guys. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review us. You got to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes to review us, and be sure to include your name and where you're from to get in our drawing so we can use our wheel, the spin a winner wheel to get you some prizes. And you can check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. And just a reminder, if our listeners would like their questions answered on our show, you just need to send your questions to info@ElkBros.com. That's INFO at ElkBros.com. And like we say down in here in the Lone Star State, guys, husbands, kiss your wives, wives, kiss your husbands. Keep your broadhead sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Guy, Travis, man, thanks, y'all, for joining.
Yes.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks.
For all our other grinders out there, here's some more music from our brother, Tony Trip from up north to close out the show.
Peace, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
What you smoking, boy? It don't smell like the stuff my grandpa used to do. When he carved them wooden ducks, he gently took a puff. A little bit of cherry was drifting in the wind. I can tell that he wasn't all there. He didn't have much. He just stared up into the sky and lit another match. And he said, I'm just trying to ease the pain. I ain't trying to raise no cane. Let me be free. every night. I don't want to cuss or fight, and I don't ever see the light. At the end of this tunnel is where I need to stay, while I'm trying to ease the pain. Said you got a minute, man. I said, yes, sir. Go ahead with what's on your mind. He said, I got a busted back and scars I got on both these legs from cutting timber way up on a mountainside. That old chainsaw was slipping right through the back cut. Before I knew it, I was upside down and on my butt. Now I'm just trying to ease the pain. I ain't trying to raise no cane. Just let me be free every night. I don't want to cuss or fight, and I don't ever see the light. At the end of this tunnel is where I need to stay. Well, I'm trying to ease the pain. When you lay there at night in a sleeping bag zip tight, I wonder deep inside what your story is. And no one knows but you. Would you open up if we had a few? Lord knows the cardboard sign don't say it all. He said I'd give it all again if I could do it over. And this old bottle of Jack won't get me sober, 'cause I'm just trying to ease the pain. I ain't trying to raise no cane. Let me be free every night. I don't want to cuss or fight. I lost my kids and my wife. At the end of this tunnel is where I need to stay, while I'm trying to ease the pain. While I'm trying to ease the pain. While I'm trying to ease the pain. I just want to ease the pain.